Welcome to the Stronger Marriage Podcast with Trey and Lee.
Hey, glad y'all joined us. Thank y'all for always listening, and we are absolutely honored that y'all follow our show.
Absolutely. We've got some couple of workshops coming up that we'd love for y'all to join us at. If you are in the Tacoma, Washington area, that's next up. We do not get up to the Northwest area very often, so if you are anywhere close to that, please come join us.
That's right. We'll also be in Springfield, Missouri in September. I was trying to think of what month that was.
Yes.
So September. You can find everything on our website at treyandlee.com. And so check that out. Come spend some time with us. We also have a cruise planned next year to Alaska.
Yeah.
Come join us on that. That will be fun. That will be fun.
So we're going to talk today about some common marriage myths.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those out there. Myths that you've heard for a long time. Maybe you call it bad marriage advice. And so we're going to run through some things that are kind of common marriage myths that we have heard. And we're kind of like, no, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. And so we'd be curious to know if you've heard any of these, or if these are things that are that you abide by in your marriage. But these are some things that we've at least learned in 36 years of marriage. So take off and tell us what number one myth on our list is.
So the first myth we want to talk about is that healthy marriages are conflict free.
Yeah,
that's just absolutely not true. You can have a healthy marriage, but at some point, you're going to have some conflict because you're two different people with two different opinions about things sometimes. You're not going to agree on every single thing that comes along.
Two different personalities.
Different, yeah.
Some people just think, hey, if I find the right person, there'll just be no conflict, and that's not right. We feel like we found the right person, but we also feel like it requires work, and we feel like we're going to have to work at it, and there is going to be conflict.
Yeah.
Conflict is just part of marriage. I was just sitting here trying to think, have we had some conflict this week? I would say it's not, and when we say conflict, that just means we don't see eye to eye on something, or maybe we're a little frustrated with each other, but that's just common.
It can be big, it can be small, but what makes a marriage healthy is that when you do have conflict, you should have an environment where you feel safe to bring things to the table that you do disagree on.
Right.
If you don't feel like you could ever bring something up, then there needs to be some discussions there.
That is true.
That's probably not a healthy environment.
I will throw this out.
Mm-hmm.
If all you have is conflict, then that is a sign that there is something unhealthy in your marriage, and you need to seek some outside help with some counseling.
Yes.
If that's all you seem to have is conflict, you need to seek some help. But healthy marriages are not conflict free.
Mm-hmm. True. Okay. So yes.
Second thing
is that good, healthy marriages come naturally when you marry the right person.
Yeah.
Right in quotation marks. Is there such a thing as the right person?
Well, Hollywood sells this as your soulmate. And if you find your soulmate, then you won't have any problems. And we hear people say sometimes, hey, if I can just find the right person to marry, everything will be good. And things don't come natural simply because you've married anybody. I mean, it's just, you're going to have to work with anything. And there's no one person in this world you're going to make eye contact with and go, there's my soulmate, and everything runs smooth forever.
Yeah.
And so, you fell in love, if you're married, you fell in love with who you thought was the right person. And we always try to say, once you found your love, now let's get busy loving our choice.
That's
and
right.
So, it doesn't always come naturally. You have to learn it. It took us multiple years of kind of negotiating how to do marriage for the first few years of marriage, because we were young. We didn't quite know how to do everything. There was nothing natural about marriage the first few years of marriage for us.
And we had a lot of things in common, which is, you don't want to marry somebody that you have nothing in common with. I think that's just going to create some friction. Hopefully you have some things in common, but like I said, you're still different people, and you're going to have to it's a continual learning process of learning about each other, and really it's more about being the right person than it is worrying about if you married the right person.
Ooh,
so
good.
you learn what your spouse likes, what your spouse needs, and then you be to them the spouse that they need.
That's right. That's a good point.
Be the right person. Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. You said it pretty perfect right there. You're obviously the right person for that point.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right.
Number 3, your spouse completes you, and they'll fulfill all your needs. And we will say your spouse should complement you, but they don't complete you. That's really a job for God. No one should be responsible for completing you. That's God. God's role is to fill you, but you can complement one another in marriage.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that there is Tom Cruise made the line,
You complete me.
"You complete me." Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I could feel like my life wouldn't be right without you in it. I get that, but it's not hey, I'm incomplete without you.
Right. If you're looking for your spouse to complete you, to fulfill all your needs, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Or to make you happy. Can I throw that in there?
Yeah.
If you are looking to your spouse, I need to find a spouse that will make me happy. Now, you find happiness and joy in yourself, and then let your spouse help complete that.
That's right. That's too much pressure to put on one person to fulfill your every need. So, yeah, as Trey said, that's a God thing. The fourth myth that we feel like is a myth for sure is that happy couples do everything together. So
Happy couples spend time together, and they
do.
like to spend time together.
They do.
But happy couples also spend time apart.
Yeah, and we talk about this all the time, that you should do things together. You should find common interests. Your spouse should be the person that you want to spend time with. But that doesn't mean you have to do everything together. It's healthy to have some separation,
Some alone time.
some you time, some time with the girls, some time with the guys. When you're apart for a little bit, that kind of creates some anticipation of getting back together. And you don't have to do every single thing together.
Yeah, that is true. And when we talk about things like spending time with the girls or guys, there's balance in that as well. Just like you don't have to do everything together, you also don't have to do everything apart. And so spend some time together as well.
Yeah.
Number 5, if you marry the right person, you will always feel in love.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing wrong with that phrase right there?
Yeah, well,
feel in love.
Feel in love. Love is not just a feeling. Love is something that you do. You choose to love. Feelings are gonna wane. You're gonna there's times when you're gonna just think you are head over heels in love with your spouse, and then there's going to be maybe the next day you think, I really don't like them at all.
I love them, but I don't like them very well. And so, love is, again, we'll go back to Hollywood, that old phrase of you fall into love and out of love. I had this conversation with someone on social media the other day. They said, hey, you can fall out of love. No, you can choose to stop loving, but you can't fall out of love, because love's not a feeling. And people say that all the time, that I don't feel like I did when I got married. Well, you've probably fallen out of friendship, and you need to work on building that friendship and spending some time together. But there are going to be days where you love each other, but you may not like each other really, really well. But love is a choice, and you choose to love your spouse every day.
That's right. On the great days, and even on the days when you don't like them very well. The next myth is that married sex is boring.
Yeah, and that's married sex is what you make it.
That's right. It's only boring if you make it boring.
That's exactly right. Statistically, every statistic out there says married couples have better sex than single people. Married people have more sex than single people. We mentioned this a couple of weeks ago on a podcast that said sex should get better. We've learned in 35 years of marriage, Done right, sex should get better every year because you learn each other's likes and dislikes. You learn what turns one another on. You just learn things about one another. And married sex, married sex is boring sex is an oxymoron, and it is what you make it. And if your sex life isn't what you want it to be, then again, probably need to seek some outside help, to ask somebody for some coaching on what can we do to make this better and try to make it better. But married sex is boring is a myth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a gift. It's an opportunity to love your spouse well. A lot of that comes from the commitment that you have for each other. It's not about being self-serving. Sex outside of marriage usually is self-serving, but sex within marriage, because of your commitment to one another, there should be nothing self-serving about it.
That's right.
And when you focus as much or more on the other person, wow, I'll just say that.
Yeah. When you go, hey, what can I do to make them enjoy this instead of just what's going to feel good to me, that's when sex gets much better.
That's right. So what's the next myth?
Having children helps couples who are struggling in marriage.
Ooh.
That is a huge myth.
That's right.
Hey, things aren't clicking real well. Maybe we'll have a kid and it'll make it better.
Oh.
It does just the opposite, folks.
It does. Children are a blessing, a huge blessing. But children can create more struggles.
Yeah.
It's stressful having children.
It is.
They add a whole nother level of stress to marriage. And
They
so if you're looking to have a child to fix some marital problems, you are probably just going to create more.
Yeah, that's that. We just thought we would throw that out right now. Having a child is not going to make your marriage better. It will probably bring some chaos into your life.
Yeah.
The next one, every disagreement must have a resolution. And I like this because sometimes we just have to agree to disagree. Sometimes Lee and I don't see eye to eye on everything. And that doesn't mean, we're going to stay on this conversation until one of us is officially right and one of us officially wrong. Sometimes you can just go, we just kind of see it a little bit different.
Yeah. And then you just have to kind of figure out how to navigate around those topics, without it always causing friction. Just say, you know what, that's just one of those things. We've agreed to disagree on that. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm. Or compromise.
Compromise is excellent.
We compromise on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. We compromise at Christmas I like colored lights, she likes white lights. Some years we do colored, some years we do white. You just go down the list that's just a simple example. Mm-hmm. We don't have to have a solution on everything that's different.
That's right.
Here's a big one. Oh, we see this all the time. Sometimes we put on social media, what advice would you give to a newlywed couple? And there are always going to be several that say, never go to bed angry. And we're like, are you kidding me? Sometimes the best thing you can do is go to bed and go to sleep when you're tired. And the next day you wake up and you go, wow, I don't even know that.
That wasn't that big of a deal.
That was not a big deal. Mm-hmm. Why were we fighting about that? Or why were we arguing about that?
Yeah.
There are just sometimes, for us, there's been times where we go to bed frustrated, and that's all right. We get up the next day and we've had a good night's sleep and we apologize and we realize this was really dumb. Mm-hmm. So staying up at 2:00 in the morning to work on stuff until you can not be angry with one another, it may just be making things worse.
Yeah, because if one or both of you are tired, you're not thinking straight, then that's not a very conducive environment to finding a solution. So just go to bed, get some rest. If you need to pick it back up in the morning, great. But like you said, chances are it's just you realize, hey, that really wasn't that big of a deal.
And let me throw this out there, because sometimes in the religious world, people will quote, don't let the sun go down on your anger. That has nothing to do with marriage and your spouse. That is taking that verse out of context. So just thought I'd throw that out there for a second. All right.
Yeah.
Number 11, differences will ruin your marriage. Sometimes it's very healthy to be different than your spouse. In fact, I think sometimes if we married people just like us, it would probably drive us nuts. I think differences enhance our marriage. Your strong points are my weak areas, and the areas I seem to do well on are sometimes your weak areas. But when we combine as a couple, we make a pretty strong couple. But when it comes to compatibility, you have to work at it sometimes.
You do. I mean, the key there is to not focus on the things that you're different about that drive you nuts, you know, because there are those things. But you just have to focus on the strengths and to let some of those weaknesses just, you know, don't focus on those. Don't nitpick about those. We took one of those compatibility tests before we got married, and
I thought it was after we got married.
I think it was right before.
Okay.
But our score was very low. I mean, it basically said, yeah, y'all are not very compatible. But here we are, 36 years later.
That's it. And
so
we've
our differences did not ruin our
No.
marriage. We've learned how to navigate our differences.
And we have, again, there's give and take. There's things that we do different, very different from one another. Lee is very organized. I'm a little messy on and we've learned to adjust on that. I want to be at places early. Lee struggles getting anywhere early, or at least when I want to be there, which is always 10 or 15 minutes early. And so those are just, there's so many things that we're just different on, but it's all right. We've navigated. Do they still frustrate us at times? Sure, they frustrate us at times, but they're not things that we're going to allow to ruin our marriage.
Yep. So the next one is, this is a myth, that seeking out marriage counseling and help should be the last resort.
Wow. And yet so many couples do that. It's like, we've tried everything. We don't know what else to do. We're going to get marriage counseling. Now that's the right thing to say. The problem with that is you don't wait until it's the last resort.
Yep. Actually, it's a great idea to seek out marriage counseling when you're in a good place. When you're in a good place in your marriage and you sit down with someone to have a conversation about areas that you'd love to continue to grow in as a couple. Things, trying new things, and just, making sure you're on the same page. That's why, marriage workshops, going to marriage workshops you don't do that when you're in trouble. It will help. But if you go when you're in a good place, you're going to find some things that, oh, wow, I thought we were doing really good on that, but we could really use to improve a little bit on that. We have couples tell us that all the time, that we are happily married, we are in a good place, but hey, y'all's workshop told us that there's a couple of things that we can still work on, we can improve on. So yeah, seeking help when you're in a good place will keep you, hopefully, from getting to a bad place.
Yeah. We have, there's two things about marriage workshops or even counseling. One, we have couples all the time that come to a workshop and they go, everybody wanted to know if there was something wrong with our marriage. And we were like, no, our marriage is great. That's why we're here. And interestingly enough, we try to tell people this all the time. People ask, hey, is your workshop full of couples that are just falling apart? Generally, no. There's always a couple or two, but 90% of the couples in our workshop have a very healthy, happy marriage. And they have that because they work on it when things are happy and healthy. They don't wait until it crashes and burns. It tells you something about marriage when the majority of the couples at our workshops are couples with really good marriages.
That's right.
And so don't think that just because we're getting counseling or just because we're going to a marriage workshop
or reading a book,
that's right, that
listening
we're having
to a
marriage problems.
podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Work on it when things are going well.
That's right. It's like continuing education.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So number 12, the last myth we're going to cover: if your spouse really loves you, they will know what you need.
Even after 36 years of marriage,
right?
If I want Lee to know what I need, I have to open my mouth.
That's right, because there's nobody on the planet that is a mind reader.
That's
There's
right.
really not.
That's right. And we've had a lady tell us one time, I've been married 30 years. I mean, it came out of her mouth. He should know what I need without me saying it now. And we were like, lady, I don't care how long you get married. He is never going to know what you need until you open your mouth and tell him.
That's right.
He can know basic stuff, but for the most part, if you need help with supper, if you need help with chores, if you need help with kids, if you need help with bills, if you need help, whatever, you better open your mouth and you better not drop hints. You better hope that he doesn't, don't try to throw the dots out there. Hopefully they'll connect the dots. Just tell them what you need.
That's right. And even, if there are things that would be helpful for your spouse to know about you, tell them what your love language is. Tell them what scores points for you. Help your spouse get to know you, and in turn get to know your spouse. It's your marriage is about continually learning about each other because we change. We change over the years, and so you may think, "Hey, my spouse should know that about me," but maybe you've changed a little bit. Maybe they've changed.
Or maybe they just don't know.
And maybe they just don't know because we're not mind readers.
Yeah, I think after, at about 33 or 34 years of marriage, we were ordering we were ordering hamburgers. And I said, how do you want your burger? And you said, you don't know after all these years? And I was like, no, I don't. And if I did, I forgot, and I think I could order now. It was good for a refresher, but I had no clue what you wanted on your burger. I think you probably know mine, but the point was sometimes we just think our spouse should know these things, and sometimes they don't.
Yes. So tell them. Just tell them. Don't
So
expect them to know.
12 really big marriage myths or batted marriage advice that we hope we can bring a little light to. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for listening. We are honored that you take time to listen. If you're listening on iTunes or through your Apple device, if you would leave us a 5-star rating, all that does is just help us get the message of healthy marriages out better. I think Spotify has that ability as well. Hopefully you're signed up and you just get these each month or each every couple of weeks by subscription. And what we mean is when we put a new one on, if you subscribe, it just pops up on your phone. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we will see you next time.
Hopefully when we're back, the weather will be cooler.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so tired of this.
I keep, hearing some people up north talking about, the weather's in the 70s. This is so great. And I'm like, we are still dying in Texas. It's triple digits and it is hot.
Yeah, I'm really sick of this. But it's August. What do you expect?
That's right. So we'll get through August and maybe there'll be some relief inside.
There you go.
Yep.
Y'all have a great day.
Bye.